Had a chance to catch up a little bit with Gus Bradley, Colts defensive coordinator today. First question he was asked was a good one. It was about Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore was not happy with the scheme last year. Gus Bradley and he had a conversation. That scheme on Sunday led to 2 pick sixes. That is a pretty good use of Kenny Moore's talents in Gus Bradley's scheme, right? Later on, he talks about Shaq Leonard in a way that I find really interesting. Here's Gus Bradley.
You know what? He has been great. He was great last year. I think, whenever you learn a new system and you're asked to change some things up, there's a time period where you go through and you're learning it and seeing how you fit in. But he really has been great. Yeah, there were some discussions, during the season last year and after the season, but it was always in a good place. It was just open communication. So, but you do see him feeling more and more comfortable in the scheme, and allows him to make some plays. So he's been great. He's been a great teammate, great with that young DB group. And, it's great to see that he had some plays like he made for us.
Just as a quick follow-up, I mean, you feel like you're using him much differently this year, or what's getting him around the ball so much more?
I think that his comfort level, what we're asking him, he's a very, very instinctive player. And I think that, in the scheme of things, boy, everybody's got to do their job and they've got to be on it. And once they understand what their responsibility is, they have some freedom within that, as long as it's within the scheme. And I think that's where he's at a place now, where he knows, how to play some things. He's a guy that we trust, and, he's using his instincts.
Steven?
Hey, Gus. Shaq is a very emotional player, right? You know that. And he expressed some things to us that I think he's probably already talked to you about and the other coaches. He wants to be out there every play. Of course, he's playing a different role right now. What can you, as we try to kind of explain this to readers, what is kind of the layman's explanation for, why you're using him the way you are, and why that works best, particularly like taking him out on third down? There's a rhyme or reason for everything you do.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a great question and very warranted. Okay, first of all, I think last week, Shaq is frustrated with wanting to be on the field more. I get it, and we want him to be out there as much as possible too. So I understand that part of it. I think what was good, if you look deep into his conversation, the part where I think he said, well, they feel like I'm not making enough splash plays. Well, we're asking everybody to do that. But there's the accountability part, right? That was there, that, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we need from you. And, he may or may not like it, but it was there. And the other part of it is, I think there was great communication. Really in there, he said, yes, the coaches are talking to me. There's accountability. I'm frustrated with it, but I understand the role and I understand what it's asked of me, and it's on. And I think that's pretty much life with anybody in a job, right? There might be some things in your job you might not like to hear, but sometimes if it's open and there's communication, at least you have that, and you got to go on from there. So he was really good last week. And I'll tell you where he really stood out is when, there's a chance. We didn't really know. We thought there was a good chance we could still have Z, but at the end of the week, it kind of turned a little bit. And with that, Shaq stepped up even more as the leader, because all of a sudden Z, who's calling it, he's gone. And you felt Shaq really kind of take over. And it was a beautiful thing. Now, it was great. You could just see him. He was back in his comfort level, taking charge, being the leader. We struggled on some things last week in the red zone in practice. He calmed everybody down, got us back right, did a phenomenal job. Now, as far as the play time, you're right. I think it's still this part where we're looking at him and saying, all right, how many plays in a row can he go? When is he most effective? And it is a process. And on the other hand, EJ is playing very well for us. And we thought the reps would play accordingly if there was enough pace to play in a game, but it's not working that way. It's been last week, it was all nickel game. And in order to get EJ on the field, something's got to give a little bit. So, we went back to 2 series for Shaq, 1 for EJ. EJ, you get some third down reps. This will come out to maybe where it's 40 and 25 or something like that. And we utilize them both. And EJ's the same way now. EJ might not be as vocal, but EJ's wants to be on that field too. They're great friends and great competitive friends, but they're both battling for playing time. So in a way, it's a competitiveness that's elevated both their games.
Do you, I mean, ultimately, Shaq is a competitor, as you said. I mean, I think it sounds like you have that, you understand it. It sounds like you think it comes from a good place, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I do.
Mhm.
And it is. I mean, players want to be. I told Shaq, don't bend on wanting to be on the field every play. That's what you need to do, and it's not going to be easy on us as a coaching staff, but that's okay. I mean, that's what we're paid to do, to handle that and facilitate it, what we think is best for the team and the best for both of them.
Thanks.
Joel?
Hey Gus, with Saguna Lobi, the way he's developed this season, did you see him developing into somebody who could play 100% of the snaps as a Mike for you guys?
We thought that we felt really good about him being a backup to Z. And then all of a sudden now it was like, well, we felt like, hey, here's an opportunity for him. He did a good job. We changed some things with him in there, maybe that we game planned on Tuesday. But he handled it really well. For his first game to go out there and manage the defense and get us in and out of calls and make the checks. And, there's never a perfect game, but we felt like he did a really good job for his first opportunity.
James?
Gus, what went into the decision to go back to Darryl Baker Jr., obviously, to have more reps this week against the Panthers? And do you expect to, I guess, trust him as that third corner for however long you need to, with Juju still out right now?
Well, I think this, and we had this conversation as a staff. I think when you look at it, not to go too deep in it, but I guess the word is like the words are mental capacity, to play from play 1 to play 76, where you're wired in and you're ready to go every snap, like you feel like you're being attacked. And we have guys that are like that: Zaire, Shaq, Buck, Kenny Moore. Now, what we need to do is get these younger players to have that same mental capacity to play the whole game with that type of intensity. And we have a number of our guys that do, and there are some that don't. And that's our job, to develop those younger players to have that. I think DJ Baker, this game showed us the mental capacity from play 1 to play 70. I don't know if I could say that in the earlier games. So there was some growth as far as that's concerned. We knew he was capable of it, but he had to show us on tape. And that's why he got another opportunity, I think, because we felt like we know he has it. He just has to demonstrate it. And I thought he did a better job of demonstrating that last week.
And one quick follow-up, you mentioned obviously Buck having that mentality. I guess, for lack of a better question, does it ever get old seeing him do things that aren't normal, but he makes them normal or routine?
No, it never gets old. And I think sometimes when you see plays like that, it forces you to pause and just realize how grateful or appreciative you are of his play. He's a guy that you can count on. And sometimes you're working so much to develop the other guys that you forget about the guys that are doing their job day in and day out and what they bring. And I think when he plays like that, it forces you to pause and just appreciate what he does bring to this unit and this team.
Thomas?
Yes, Coach. Nearly every player rotating on the front line was able to generate a pass rush and wrap up Bryce Young. Can you describe how impactful the pass rush will be in Germany this week?
Well, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. I mentioned that when we first got here, is that we need to somehow find a way to generate rush. And, if we can get 8 deep or 8 or 9 guys, that's what we're looking for. And Nate does a great job substituting in. You saw Zay get in there at the end and get 8 or 9 reps, so we could take a look at him in a pressure situation. And I thought he did a good job rushing. So it's that constant journey of trying to find 8 guys that we can count on that can generate rush, from a 4-man look. And, so a lot of guys are getting a lot of opportunity, and we're just trying to see who are those guys. And it's a highly competitive unit right now, and we're seeing who we can consistently count on.
I also have a follow-up on New England. They've surpassed 20 points just once this season. What is the biggest challenge that the Patriots present on film? Okay, thank you. So I had a follow-up on New England. They've surpassed 20 points just once this season. Okay, what is the biggest challenge that the Patriots present on film?
Well, I think that, we saw them. I mean, every team now in this league can score a lot of points. They have the opportunity. I mean, we got a lot of respect for what Buffalo does, and New England scored 20, I think it was 27 or something against Buffalo and won the game. So, we just got to do a good job. I think last week we went back and said, hey, let's get back to being fundamentally who we are and get back to, doing the things that we do. Shane's big word was execution, communication, being on the details. And I think that we went back more to that. So really, this opportunity, New England does a good job. We've got a lot of respect for them, but we just got to continue to get better in some areas. I don't think we tackled as well as we needed to at times last week. There's a couple of areas that we need to really focus our attention on to make another big step. So, now it's against New England. We have that opportunity against them, a team that we highly respect.
We have time for two more. Chat.
Gus, obviously, he's not been ideal at cornerback this year, but you guys, you sort of threw Jalen Jones out there in the deep end. How has he responded? How have you seen him grow over this time?
He's been a really, I think what stands out, the first thing is he's highly competitive, and he does a great job in competitive situations. And, those mental breakdowns, or not mental breakdowns, but those ones where you're scratching your head and you're going, oh, we have some growing pains here, are becoming less and less. And I think that you're seeing him play more aggressively because of his, getting more and more experience with each game. So we like where he's at. We have put a lot on his plate. At times we travel him with a player, or we'll travel him to certain areas of the field. So it's almost at times he has the responsibility of an 8-year veteran, or like what we did with Gilly last year, and here he is a rookie. So we put a lot on his plate, and but I think some of those growing pains that we have seen are becoming less, and we're challenging him to give us more.
Last one, Raven.
We hear so much around the league about next man up and just being ready when your number is called. So seeing the game that Segun had, and then Tommy Watt getting his first sack, Eric Johnson, same thing. How nice was it to see those guys who don't normally see significant playing time make an impact on Sunday?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, we've said that we've tried to give guys roles on this unit. And if they do well in practice and they're showing us, we want to get them in the game. And I think it's really good for morale, of the unit. It does take some give and take. I mean, there's guys that want to be in there the whole game, but to keep guys fresh and to keep developing players, if they do well, we want to give them a role. And I think that's what you see with Eric Johnson. He's getting a bigger role. Tommy, he's getting some opportunities, as well as like a guy like Zaylan. So, if they continue to show it, there's that nugget out there that if you do well in practice, we're going to find a way to get you on the field and see what you can bring. And that's the biggest message, I think, of all. And as well as that, I think guys are playing and pulling for each other because of it.
So that's Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley's defense is going to go across the ocean to Germany and play against the New England Patriots, one of the worst and one of the least talented offenses in the National Football League. What are they going to be up against? What are they going to look like in this game? You know what? The scheme may drive you a little bit crazy, but I'll tell you this. Gus Bradley is a joy to listen to when he talks to the media, because he kind of tells you stuff. He doesn't tell you how the scheme is going to work exactly or why it worked exactly, but what he does tell you is kind of usable, fun football information. And that's worth it on a Tuesday, isn't it?